Good morning/afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV coming to you with breaking news. Multiple reports say that Mike Waltz is out as President Trump's national security advisor, that President Trump is getting rid of Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz was the one who accidentally added a reporter to that government signal chat back in March. So we want to bring you the latest on this. Now, President Trump is speaking right now, but at a prayer event at the White House, I think it is. But National Day of Prayer event, let's check out what President Trump is saying right now. But I don't think he's speaking about Mike Waltz right now. But why don't we check it out anyway? Hold on a second. I'm going to put this on the screen for you. If I can get it up here for a second. Give me a moment. I just need to... Nope, that's not the one I want. How about that one? Here we go. Okay, let's see if this works. We're going to go to, again, I don't think he's talking about Mike Waltz, but let's see what President Trump has to say. He's speaking live.
It was a very interesting story because for 2-3 years, I'd see these really great people, like 50 of them, or maybe a little more. They'd come up to Washington looking for money for historically black colleges and universities, and they'd come up, and the first time was okay. I helped them get it. I got it for them, and that was it. Then the next year they came up, and I said, why are you up here? We took care of you. They said, no, they make us come up every year. I said, you got to be kidding. So we took care of them, Speaker. We got them long-term 10-year financing, more money than they were asking for. And I would say, I think I'm the most popular with those 50 people. They like me. They couldn't believe it because they were forced to come out. This is for 40 years. Every year they'd come up, you know that, Ben. They'd come up. And some of them became friends of mine because they'd come up looking for money all the time. And I said, we got to get you like some long-term money. And I said to them, the only bad thing is I'll probably never see you again. And largely, but I see a couple of them here, largely that happened. But I took care of them, but they never had to come up. So it was a big thing. It was talked about last night, actually, on television. Today, as the American people turn to God in prayer, we continue a tradition older than our independence itself. Nearly 250 years ago, on June 12, 1775, the Continental Congress appointed a day of fasting and prayer so that Americans fighting for their liberty could seek the help of the Almighty. And when you look at that, June 12th, 1775, so we have a very, very special day coming up. You know, we have a lot of them during this term. And interestingly, I had none of them had I not had a rigged election. Had the election not been rigged, I would have been out of here. I would have been gone. The radical left would have said, we got rid of him finally. But no, now they have me for another 4 years. We talk about that. And in the other 4 years, you know, I sort of said, I got the Olympics to come in. And I got the World Cup to come in. And I said, you know, the sad part is it's going to be in the, would be the third term. None of it came in during the, what would be the normal, you know, the more normal way of doing it, like counting the proper votes, et cetera, and just going on. I wouldn't have been president. But now we end up with 4 years later, and we have the 250-year anniversary, and that will be June 12th, 250 years, and you have Flag Day, so there's something happening on Flag Day. It's my birthday. But so you have 250 years in this term. You have the Olympics in this term. We have the Olympics going to Los Angeles. And we have the World Cup. And I was very instrumental in all three of them. They said, would you do it? Because another president refused to call. They needed for the Olympics and the World Cup, they needed the support of the president. And that particular president refused to talk to them. He didn't want to talk to them. I don't know why exactly, but he didn't want to talk. So they said, could you talk? And so I talked, and I talked them into it. And we got those two, and we have 250 years. So this is going to be really 4 years of celebration. So get ready. And we're going to always bring God with us. We're going to bring God to those celebrations. We're not going to forget about God. In a letter to wife Abigail, John Adams wrote, of his first National Day of Prayer, millions will be upon their knees at once.
All right, so President Trump is speaking now, but he's not speaking about Mike Waltz. He's speaking at a National Day of Prayer event. So since we're on the air to cover Mike Waltz, the Mike Waltz story. Let's talk about that right now. So multiple reports, including from many outlets, Fox News, CNN, lots of other outlets, have said that President Trump is getting rid of Mike Waltz. That would be the first major, what would you call it? His first major staff member or aide or official to leave the White House during his second term. Oops, hold on. I'll show you right here. Look. Trump National Security Advisor Waltz is out following signal chat blunder in major staff shakeup. Reportedly, others also out at the National Security Council. Our viewer DE said didn't take that long. This is the National Security Advisor. Hold on a second here. This is the main advisor to the president on national security issues. If you go to Wikipedia, for example, it says the National Security Advisor serves as the principal advisor to the president of the U.S. on national security issues. Our viewer USA says, you're fired. JD says, bruh, they threw him under the bus, but not Hegseth. Yeah, multiple reports say he is being forced out. He's being asked to leave. So I don't know if he does leave. I don't know. Maybe he'll say I'm leaving voluntarily. But the reports say that he is getting fired. I think the Fox News report I saw used the word fired. Paul Palma says, what about Hegseth? Hey, I need about 15 seconds here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just throw Trump back on again for 15 seconds. He's speaking right now. Give me 15 seconds while I put Trump on the screen, and I'm coming right back. Here's Trump speaking right now.
And the spirit that we have in this country
Give me 15 seconds.
Is greater than I've ever seen it before. And it started on November 5th when we won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won every district. Think of this: the districts. It was 2,750 versus 505, and we got 312 electoral votes. Everyone said maybe he can get 270. We got 312. It was a great election, and it has just revitalized the country. And I think I can say one other thing that's to me really incredible, that it can go so quickly. If you remember 6 months ago, prior to the election, we were unable to get people to join our military. We had a waiting list that was a mile long of empty spaces, and we couldn't get anybody to join. We didn't know actually what to do. Now, I wasn't in the administration, but they didn't know what to do. And it was embarrassing to them, frankly, and it should be. And that included police and firemen. You couldn't get people to join anything having to do with any of the military groups, any of the law enforcement groups, first responder groups. You couldn't get anybody to join. And as of yesterday, we had the largest number of recruits in the history of our country. Think of that. And the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, all of it, Coast Guard, all of them, they're full. And we have a waiting list, and we're actually picking the ones we want. And we're trying.
All right, so he is speaking right now, but he's not speaking about Mike Waltz. He's speaking at a National Day of Prayer event. So let's go back to the news about Mike Waltz. Again, this would be the first of the president's top advisors to be out during his second term. And remember, he is the one who accidentally added a journalist to the Signal chat back in March. By the way, our viewer Logan said he thinks Waltz and Trump will claim it's a mutual decision. So let's get you some news on this, and we'll take some of your comments on the air. I want to thank our moderators. Janet B., thank you, Janet, for moderating. And Ruth Krafasi, thank you. And Queenful over there on YouTube. And also our moderators on, oops, give me one moment here. Now, it's an interesting situation because this is being widely reported. I mean, again, Fox News, CNN, all sorts. This is AP you're looking at in front of you. So my guess is that somebody from the White House, somebody either from the White House or somebody from Mike Waltz's office, somebody is going public with this information. But he hasn't been officially let go yet. So when will that happen? Will it happen today? It's kind of odd that this story is being reported everywhere, but he's still there. So is this going to happen today? Will President Trump post on Truth Social about it? We'll have to see. But it's kind of a strange dynamic now that this news has been widely reported. Thanks to our Twitch moderators, Matthew Kohai 3 moderating over there. Thanks also to, hold on a second here. Why is this all weird? Hold on one second. I'm just logging into Facebook. Why is... Let me try this again. Facebook is acting a little strange today. That's what I'll say. So I'll try to see the Facebook chat if I can. But Facebook is acting strange. Why is Facebook acting so strange? I don't know. I'm going to try this one more time, Facebook. And if not, I'm going to leave it and try it later because I can't spend all day trying to... Oops. Deal with Facebook. Let's try it one more time. I think it's working. I think it just worked. It just worked. Okay, we're good. We're good to go on Facebook. Thanks, Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha for moderating over on X. And also see the Facebook chat if I can. But Facebook is acting strange. Thanks also to our Facebook mods. Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body. Thank you. I have to keep an eye on his Truth Social, too. I mean, it's possible that President Trump will come out with something on Truth Social. I mean, he's speaking right now, but not about this. He's speaking at this National Prayer, Day of Prayer event. But it's possible he'll come out with something about it, or the White House will come out with something about it while we're on the air. So I got to keep an eye on that. So let's talk about this and get some more of your comments. And by the way, thanks so much to Cindy for being a member. Thanks to Punished Foxo. Thank you so much, Punished Foxo, for your support. And Gina, our member. And Logan, our member. And Bebop and Rocksteady, our member. So you can see here, AP says Trump National Security Advisor Waltz is out following signal chat blunder in major staff shakeup. White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is set to depart the administration, according to two people familiar with the matter on Thursday, marking the first major staff shakeup of President Trump's second term. Waltz came under searing scrutiny in March after revelations he added journalist Jeffrey Goldberg to a private text chain on the encrypted messaging app Signal, which was used to discuss planning for a sensitive March 15th military operation against Houthi militants in Yemen. A far-right ally of the president, Laura Loomer, I'm seeing this reported today, a far-right ally of the president, Laura Loomer, has also targeted Waltz, telling Trump in a recent Oval Office conversation that he needs to purge aides who she believes are insufficiently loyal to the Make America Great Again agenda. So, did that have anything to do with this? Is this about the Signal chat? Is it about multiple things? I don't know. Waltz's deputy, Alex Wong, is also expected to depart, according to the People. The National Security Council did not respond to a request for comment. By the way, thanks so much to Kristen McConnell Gates and Sharon Klassen Goslin for the Facebook stars. I really appreciate that. Our viewer Dina Soul says, so it begins. Guy from KC says maybe it's a fake story to smoke out a leaker. Well, I mean, I want to say pretty much every major news outlet is reporting it. Fox News is reporting it too, remember. Their headline is, Fox News says Trump National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, other staffers ousted following Signal chat leak. So, I mean, it just see at a certain point, if every major outlet is reporting it, it feels like it's going to happen. But it hasn't happened yet. I also think Mike Waltz might not be at that event this morning. Let me see if I can get any reporting about that. There's that National Day of Prayer event that's going on now at the White House. We were showing you some video from that. Adam thinks it's happened already. Well, again, there's been no official announcement from the White House on this. TJ Adams says, I wonder what took so long. I'm also like, NBC News is reporting it now too. I mean, pretty much every major outlet I've seen has been reporting it. Elena Treen of CNN is reporting that Steve Witkoff has said he does not want the job. And people close to him think he will not be selected to replace Waltz. Elena Treen also reports that some names that have been floated to replace him temporarily include the Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau and Secretary of State Rubio. Would he take both? Would he then have both jobs? While the president weighs a more permanent replacement. Let's get some more reporting on this and take some more of your comments. But again, something might come out while we're on the air. TJ Adams thinks Waltz and his deputy should have been fired the day after the Signal chat drama. 999 Avatar, our viewer, says, from what I've seen, Waltz was disliked even among the Trump orbit. So he's pretty low-hanging fruit in the whole Signal screw-up. Also, I believe Mike Waltz was at the cabinet meeting yesterday. If I get a second, I will maybe I can pull up the cabinet meeting from yesterday and we can see him speak yesterday. I don't even know if he spoke yesterday, but we can see him there. All right, let's, Casey says, I am not too impressed with Waltz. Let's talk about this some more. AP says Waltz, who served in the House of Representatives representing Florida for 3 terms before his elevation to the White House, is the most prominent senior administration official to depart since Trump returned to the White House. In his second term, Trump had been looking to avoid the tumult of his first 4 years in office, during which he cycled through 4 national security advisors, 4 White House chiefs of staff, and 2 secretaries of state. The Signal chain also showed that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth provided the exact timings of warplane launches and when bombs would drop. Waltz had previously taken full responsibility for building the message chain, and administration officials described the episode as a mistake, but one that caused Americans no harm. Waltz maintained he was not sure how Goldberg ended up in the messaging chain, and he insisted he did not know the journalist. Trump and the White House, which insisted that no classified information was shared on the Signal chain, have stood by Waltz publicly throughout the episode, but the embattled national security advisor was also under siege from personalities such as Laura Loomer, who have been complaining to administration officials that she had been excluded from the vetting process for National Security Council aides. In her view, Waltz relied too much on neocons, referring to hawkish neoconservatives within the Republican Party, as well as others who Loomer argued were not MAGA enough types. Waltz was on television as late as this morning. This morning he was on television promoting the administration's agreement with Kyiv, Ukraine, that would allow the U.S. to access Ukraine's critical minerals and other national resources. As reports began to circulate that Waltz would be leaving the administration, Loomer appeared to take credit in a post on the social media site X, writing "scalp." Maybe I can show you that post from her. Hang on a moment here. She said scalp, but it's above a post where she posted about Alex Wong, who's the deputy national security advisor. So I don't know if she was talking about him. He reportedly is out too. Hold on, I'll show you this. She posted scalp about an hour and a half ago when these stories were coming out. All right, so here is her post. See, it says scalp, and it's above a post that she made in March about Alex Wong, who is Mike Waltz's deputy, who's reportedly also out. All right, let's take some comments from you guys on this. It's a very interesting situation, though, because it seems like somebody leaked this. Because, again, Mike Waltz appeared on TV this morning as the National Security Advisor. So, and assuming it's true, I mean, it's being reported widely. Fox News has it, CNN, NBC News, AP, Politico, Washington Post, New York Times. It's all over the place. So who leaked it and why? Roger Shoemaker says, I remember Trump defending Waltz after the Signal chat leak. Annie thinks Hegseth is not a war hawk like Waltz. That may be why he's not gone yet. Yeah, Trump is not speaking about this. We showed you some of Trump speaking. Trump is speaking at a National Day of Prayer event at the White House, and I have showed several excerpts of that. But every time I go to it, he's not speaking about this. So I haven't been showing it constantly. I can show you right now what he's saying.
Which is what I did the last time. That drove them into a very bad state, and they were ready to make a deal, except for the election. Didn't turn out the way it should have. It was a rigged election, and we might as well say it. But it was totally rigged. It was disgraceful. I think it's going to go down as one of the biggest. We wouldn't have, think of it, your son would be home. You wouldn't have had October 7th. You wouldn't have had the Ukraine-Russian horror show that's going on that we're trying to stop, where 5,000 young Russians, mostly Russians, and Ukrainian soldiers are being killed every single week, 5,000 a week. So think of those parents, they're from Russia, they're from Ukraine for the most part, and other people, but for the most part. And that would have never happened. It was never going to happen. No chance of it happening. Putin and I talked all the time. He knew it wasn't going to happen. I told him it wasn't going to happen. And through gross incompetence, it did take place, and it's a horrible thing. And you wouldn't have had inflation. Think of it. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had the horror show at Afghanistan, which I think is what gave Putin the resolve to go in and do what
Sorry
he
about the audio.
did,
I can't do anything about
because
that
he looked at how
audio.
badly
There's some
we got
crackling
out.
on the audio.
We lost 13 soldiers. 42 were horribly injured. Nobody ever talks about them. The legs, the arms, the face, horribly injured. That would have never happened. Not even possible to have happened. And we would have been out before he was out. I was the one that got it down to the 5,000, but we were going to keep Bagram, the big Air Force base, which is 1 hour from where China makes its nuclear. That's what they do. They make their nuclear missiles, and 1 hour away from Bagram. And I said, you can't give up Bagram. They gave up Bagram, and right now China occupies Bagram. So sad, so crazy. One of the biggest air bases in the world, among the strongest and longest runways anywhere in the world. 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear missiles. It would have been great to have. Well, we were keeping it, but they ran out of there like nobody can believe. And I think Putin saw that and he said, wow, this is a great time I can go get, because it was the apple of his eye. I could always see that. I talked to him for hours. It was the apple of his eye, but I said, Vladimir, don't even think about it. And he wouldn't have thought about it. But when he saw that, I think that's the reason, actually, he gained some additional courage and he went in. Adi and Yael cannot imagine your pain. I just can't. Adi and Yael. But we're all alongside of you. We stand by you, and we're going to do everything possible in a very short period of time. You know, as you know, things are heating up there. I've gotten a lot of hostages out. We were getting nobody out. A lot of them are out, but they want to do it as slowly as possible because they use them as pawns. It's a horrible thing, but we're working very, very hard to save your son. We have news coming out, both good and bad, but we're working very hard. And I have many parents seeing me. I was with hostages, 10 hostages that got out. They came about 3.
All right, again, so we checked back in with him speaking live. He's not speaking about the Mike Waltz thing. So I want to stay on our topic here, our main topic, and talk about Mike Waltz. Look at this. Reuters reporting as well. White House National Security Advisor Waltz being forced out, sources say. We're going to get some comments from you guys, bringing you live coverage. This is the first major staff official advisor departure in Trump's second term, assuming it happens. So let's get some comments from you and bring you some more updates on this. And we'll see. Again, it's a strange situation where he hasn't officially been let go yet, but this is being widely reported. So how long will this go on for? Maybe that'll be a good poll question. When will Waltz officially be let go? What do you think about that poll question? When will Waltz officially be let go? And the three choices I'm going to give you are today, later, and then never. I mean, never would be quite surprising at this point, but you never know. All right, I am posting it in the chat. I just posted it over there on YouTube. I'm going to post it on Twitch now. And I'll post it on Facebook. Okay, it is now posted on Twitch. And then I'll show you what you guys said about it. I am posting it on Facebook right now. This is not working. Hold on. I will post it on Facebook in a second. Then I'll let you guys see what you are saying. Give me a moment. Just have to post it on Facebook. Takes a second. Polls. Yes. No. Oh. Today. Later. Never. Okay. So, let me see what people said here. I asked you, I said, when is he going to be let go? Officially. Over on YouTube, here's what our YouTube viewers said. 65% of YouTube viewers say it's going to be today. 24% say later than today. 10% say never. On so far on Facebook, 50% say today, 50% say never. And on Twitch, pretty similar to YouTube. 70% say today, 20% say later, 11% say never. Belladonna says leaving on his own is not an option. Yeah, I mean, he could in theory leave on his own. The various reports that I've seen, pretty much all of them, I believe, say he is being forced out. Now, he could officially say, I'm leaving voluntarily. So I don't know, that's an option. But I'm going to assume at this point if he leaves, it's because he's getting forced out, no matter what he officially says. Alexander G., our viewer, says, I expected Waltz to be let go weeks ago. Lecino says he is forced out. Mark Hanners said Fox had the speaker from his department saying he was being let go. Well, I didn't see Fox, but I know there's been no official statement about this. I can check the Fox article. Anyways, thanks. I'll show you some more reporting on this. Thanks for voting in our poll. Give me one moment here. Give me one moment. Check something real quick here. In the Fox News report that they have posted on their site about Mike Waltz being ousted following the Signal chat leak, they say sources confirmed to Fox News. Also, Fox reports that Waltz is out, Waltz's deputy Alex Wong is out, and additional staffers will be removed from the office. And Fox says President Trump is expected to speak publicly about the matter. So that's what Fox is reporting. Fox is reporting Waltz out, his deputy out, other staffers out, and President Trump will speak about it publicly. Although, him speaking about it publicly, I mean, that could mean he's making a big announcement, or it could mean he just says something while he's saying something else, while he's talking about something else. So I don't know how big that deal that is. That is from Fox News. Gary says, does this mean Trump has somebody new lined up for the vacancy? I can't say. I haven't seen any reporting saying anybody new is lined up. But I don't know. All right, let's talk about some more about this. I would not be at all surprised if this was made official today, by the way. I don't. It's a strange situation. If again, this is being very widely reported. It's a strange situation if it's like days, and it kind of just goes on like this. Alexander G thinks Hegseth is safe for now. He's not against Trump's peace agenda. Brittany Bissett thinks Hegseth should resign too. You can see, this is the Reuters report. President Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, that's the top advisor on national security matters, is being forced out of his job. 4 people briefed on the matter said on Thursday. in the first big shakeup of Trump's inner circle since he took office in January. Waltz's deputy, Alex Wong, an Asia expert who was a State Department official focused on North Korea in Trump's first term, is also leaving his post. Two people told Reuters. A 51-year-old former Republican lawmaker from Florida, Waltz faced criticism inside the White House when he was caught up in a March scandal involving a signal chat among the top Trump national security aides. It was not immediately clear who would take over for Waltz, but one option included U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who's been involved in both Russia-Ukraine diplomacy as well as the Middle East, one of the sources said. A CNN reporter, Elena Train, is reporting that he's not going to do that, but that it won't be Witkoff, but we'll see. The National Security Council did not immediately reply to a request for comment. Waltz was blamed for accidentally adding the editor of The Atlantic magazine to a private signal chat thread describing details of an imminent U.S. bombing campaign in Yemen. The Atlantic reported on the mishap. At a subsequent cabinet meeting with Waltz in the room, which we were covering, Trump expressed his preference for holding such conversations in a secure setting with lead walls, a clear sign of his displeasure, but he and others in the White House expressed confidence in Waltz at the time. However, the signal controversy was not the only mark against Waltz. A person familiar with the cabinet's internal dynamics said Waltz was too hawkish for the war-averse Trump and was seen as not effectively coordinating foreign policy among a variety of agencies, a key role for the National Security Advisor. The source said that under Waltz, the system isn't running properly. By the way, the National Security Advisor is a powerful role, but one that does not require Senate confirmation, says Reuters. Mr. Peabody says, but wait, I thought there weren't any war plans leaked, so why let Waltz go? Our viewer, Wesley, thinks Witkoff would be a terrible choice. Deb Z thinks he's going to try to put in Mike Flynn again. Mike Flynn, wasn't he the first National Security Advisor of the first term and didn't last very long? He was the National Security Advisor for the first 22 days of the first Trump administration. He resigned in light of reports that he had lied regarding conversations with the Russian ambassador to the United States. So he was there for 22 days. John Throbbin thinks if Hegseth goes, then Fox will abandon Trump. Blake Campbell Taylor thinks firing him over the signal leaks was the right decision. Oh, hold on a second. I'm hearing some audio here. Sophia Martinez says this sounds hypocritical when Pete, I assume she means Hegseth, has literally shown us that he is worse. William Cromer says Waltz screwed up. Hello World says not U.S. isolationist enough. Ninja Master thinks some random MAGA guy will get the job. By the way, the Trump event is still going on. It's interesting timing also because this news came out, and right after this news came out, President Trump had a scheduled National Day of Prayer event at the White House. So, which you can see right there. I don't even know, it's possible that if he didn't have this event scheduled and he was just sitting at the White House, maybe he would have put out a True Social post about this already. Let's listen in on this for a second.
Could I ask Dan to come on up and John come up? Ben, come on up here, please. Got to be up here. Come on, Phil. Who knew Phil was a man of great religion? Who knew this? I watched him so long, I can't believe it. I would love to have you come up representing your religion right there. Representing your so highly respected. Please come up. Mary, come on up. And I'd like to have this whole first row come up, if you would. We have plenty of room, even if we go back. Mike, come on up. Marco, Scott, Pete, Pam.
So
look at Howard.
A bunch of the cabinet is there, and
Okay,
I
that's
don't
great.
think I don't think Mike Waltz is there.
That's great.
So he just
Marco's doing
had a
such
bunch
a
of them
good
come
job.
up on
Get
on,
up
on
here,
stage.
please.
There's Scott
Well, somebody's
Bessent and
keeping him.
Pam
Somebody's
Bondi
helping him.
and Speaker
Come on
Mike
up.
Johnson.
I want to thank you.
For
Marjorie,
example.
come on up here, Marjorie. Where's Pastor Maldonado?
Right there.
Pastor, come on up. Come on up.
Pena,
Yes, come on. These are people that have been from the beginning.
Mark Burns.
Yes. Come on up, Mark.
Hey, it's
And
Marjorie
anybody
Taylor
else
Greene.
feels that they should be here. Where is Gary? Gary Bauer? Is Gary here? Come on, Gary.
You got a lot of
Gary's won't take up too much room.
This is live at the
I had
White
Ohio
House.
State here, and I had yesterday the Philadelphia Eagles here. So they took up a little more room than Gary. I got very good at this. Good, Gary. Nice to see you. And all of you, I just really appreciate everything you've done. Yes, Jenny.
Rodney and Adonica.
That would have been
Howard
terrible.
Rodney and
I'm
Adonica.
glad we saw that. Rodney, come on up. Come on up. This is built to hold a lot of people. Don't worry. Thank you.
Pastor Brad and Rachel Knight.
That's great. So I could ask, please, Rabbi Levi Shumtov to come up, say a few words. Rabbi, please.
All right. And anyways, again, I've been periodically checking in on this event, this National Day of Prayer event, which is going on live at the White House. But I don't know if this event weren't going on, would we have heard something official from Trump about the reports that Mike Waltz is getting let go? I don't know. But this has been going on for a little while now, so we'll have to see if when this event ends, do we get something official from Trump about Mike Waltz? You can give me a shout on X at Lookner. We are bringing you some live coverage. Hey, thanks to Sevenfold, our new member, by the way. I appreciate that, Sevenfold. Also, our member, Cindy. Thank you. Let me check for updates here. We'll take some more comments from you guys. Get you some more reporting on this. Chuck Schumer. What is that? Why am I hearing stuff? Oh, hold on a second. I'm going to put this on. I need 2 seconds here. Give me 2 seconds. Hold on. Two seconds.
And congressional leaders, and specifically the military, who serve stateside and abroad, that they may defend our lives and values as they vigorously protect the world from emerging threats and sinister forces. Please keep them safe and favor them with courage and vigor. And please...
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you to Gary Baines for the gift memberships, by the way. I appreciate that. Gary Baines, thank you so much. Make sure you thank somebody if they give you a gift membership or a gift subscription. By the way, Julie Sirkin of NBC News, Julie Sirkin reported that Chuck Schumer said about Mike Waltz, they should fire him, but they're firing the wrong guy. They should be firing Hegseth. That's what Senator Chuck Schumer said according to Julie Sirkin of NBC News. Why am I talking during this? Because, again, that event has nothing to do with what we're covering. I've been periodically showing it. It has nothing to do with this story. Let's see here. All right, here's some more reporting. Oops, right here. Trump plans to fire National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, officials say. Some of the stories use the word fired, like this one. This is the Washington Post story. President Trump plans to replace National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, according to a current and a former U.S. official who spoke on the condition of anonymity to share a personnel move that has not yet been announced. Waltz infuriated Trump after he mistakenly included a journalist on a Signal group chat discussing highly sensitive attack plans against Houthi militants. The former Florida congressman also fell out of favor with Trump's cabinet members with his shifting explanations for how the incident took part, including that the contact information from the journalist, Atlantic Magazine editor-in-chief Jeff Goldberg, got sucked into his phone and that he never met or spoke with Goldberg before, claims Goldberg denied. Waltz's anticipated exit marks the first major upheaval among Trump's top national security staff. By the way, some of the articles mention Laura Loomer. One of our viewers, Roger Shoemaker, says this is what happens when the FBI doesn't vet cabinet nominees. That's what Roger said. Thank you to Dean R., our member. I appreciate that. Yeah. So how much of a role possibly did Laura Loomer play in this? Just to go back to this article here from the AP, it says, a far-right ally of the president, Laura Loomer, has also targeted Waltz, telling Trump in a recent Oval Office conversation that he needs to purge aides who she believes are insufficiently loyal. Who she says are insufficiently loyal to the Make America Great Again agenda. Malcontent, our viewer, says, National Security Advisor, you had one job and failed, you're fired. Natalie says, I find Laura Loomer to be an attention seeker. I don't believe Mike Waltz has posted about this yet. Here's the official account of Mike Waltz, right there. He still has his account. National Security Advisor. Karl-Heinz Riedler, our viewer, thinks Loomer is just jealous. She isn't on the inside. Heat Inferno thinks Waltz was a incompetent neocon. Anyways, if you're wondering why President Trump hasn't posted about this yet or said anything, it's possible that the reason is that he has been participating in this live National Day of Prayer event at the White House. We listened to some of this earlier, but I'm not covering the whole thing because it's not relevant to this news story that we're covering. So maybe he'll post about it or say something about it after after that event ends. Mark Randy says, great move by Trump. You can't screw up on his watch. Let me also see if I have some other reporting on this that I can mention. If there's any other reports floating around out there. Our viewer, Anti-AFD, says, fire Trump. He nominated all these guys. Now, Politico says that Waltz could leave imminently, which is basically right away, but the move is not final. Politico says that Trump is known to sometimes pivot away from things plans he tells staff and even announces publicly. Politico says they talked to 5 different people who are familiar with this decision. And Politico says that President Trump has so far resisted pressure to remove any of his top officials. There's a comment here. In the Politico got a comment from Carolyn Levitt, too. The White House press secretary told Politico, we are not going to respond to reporting from anonymous sources. And Politico said that the current leading pick to replace him is Steve Witkoff, although CNN says that's not going to happen. Also, Politico says other possible contenders include Stephen Miller, Sebastian Gorka, and Rick Grinnell. Hold on a second here. Hang on a moment. Give me a moment. So will there be an announcement about this today? Kind of a strange situation. Let me know your thoughts at Lookner on X. I will check the chat as well. Oops, hold on a moment here. Miss Kitty says, will he get severance pay? Tina LaPlaca says, lots going on here. As Sylvia S. mentions, Mike Waltz's deputy Alex Wong will reportedly be leaving as well. Fox News says other people will also be leaving. Guy from the 207 says Waltz is a real warrior, not some Fox News pretty boy girl. Yes, I know Hegseth served too, but he's more Fox than military in Trump. That's what our viewers said. Why? So, you know what? You know, these different articles are saying multiple people told them this. For example, in Politico, they say that they talked to 5 people about it. Reuters said they talked to 4 people about it. So, what? It's not coming from one person. There's multiple people saying this to all these different outlets. Again, Fox News is reporting it. So who is the one going to? Who are the people going to these outlets? By the way, they know who they're talking to. These various outlets, they're not getting anonymous letters or anonymous phone calls. They know who they're talking to. They know who the people are they're talking to. So how is this playing out? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's putting it out there? Did Waltz's side want to put out there, maybe? I don't know. There's got to be a motivation to put it out there. Is the White House putting it out there kind of secretly to kind of like maybe soften the news or something so that people expect it when President Trump announced it? I don't know. But it's very interesting. TJ Adams says to try and get him to resign. TJ, do you think like they wanted him to resign and he won't, and so this is the way of getting it to happen? Gay Ishun thinks the White House put it out. Natalie thinks Hegseth leaked it. Austin Batman says CNN has footage from Tuesday of Waltz being prevented from boarding Air Force One to go to Trump's Michigan rally. You know, I should mention that. I heard some reporting about that. Thanks for mentioning that. Let me just see if I can tell you something about that. CNN says that Trump had considered firing Waltz after the Signal chat controversy came out, but he didn't want to provide his enemies a perceived victory, and hoped to avoid the type of chaos that colored his first administration. That's what CNN says. CNN also says a bunch of Democrats on Capitol Hill say that Trump should be firing Pete Hegseth over the chat because he discussed bomb targets in the chat. Yes, so CNN says that this is a report from CNN. CNN said on Tuesday that Mike Waltz boarded Marine One with Trump. But when his colleagues boarded Air Force One about 10 minutes later, the plane, Marine One is the helicopter, when his colleagues boarded Air Force One about 10 minutes later, he remained on the tarmac. Now, a White House official said he was never slated to travel with the president to Michigan. but the move was viewed as odd by other aides inside the administration. What to make of that, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, thanks to Ivan, our member. Thank you, Ivan. Excuse me. Gary Baines thinks Waltz initiated the signal chat, so the host gets the blame. The New York Times says most of Trump's advisors viewed Waltz as too hawkish to work for a president who campaigned as a skeptic of American intervention. So how much does that play into this? That he's more of a hawkish means wanting a more, I guess you could say, more tending to use military force. And remember, this morning, Mike Waltz appeared on Fox News as the national security advisor. Something else about hawkish, you could argue that hawkish also means more of a, doesn't have to be military force. It could mean like strong action, because like the Times, New York Times points out, they say that Waltz has been arguing for sharp sanctions against Russia if they don't agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine, which that wouldn't be military force, but you could argue it's hawkish. Also, like some other outlets, the New York Times mentions that far-right activist Laura Loomer was not a fan of Mike Waltz. And the Times, like CNN, says Trump has been trying not to fire people from cabinet-level positions to avoid, for one, to avoid the publicity that comes along with it. The Times mentioned Steve Witkoff as a possible replacement. They mention that Marco Rubio could temporarily take the job as well as staying, along with his being Secretary of State. By the way, in case you're wondering, this event is still going on. President Trump has been doing a National Day of Prayer event, and that's still going on. Why is this thing like this? So, what I've been wondering is when this event is over, will we hear anything from President Trump about Mike Waltz? And if this event hadn't been taken place, would we have already heard something from President Trump about Mike Waltz? But this is still going on. Looks like this event is about to end. Is that it? Is he leaving?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Whoa. All right. So the National Day of Prayer event is ending. So do we think that now that the National Day of Prayer event is ending and President Trump is going inside, will we hear something from President Trump soon? Maybe on social media about Mike Waltz? I'm sure this is a hot topic of discussion in the White House, the fact that all these outlets, including Fox News, are reporting that Mike Waltz is out. What did he sign at that event? I don't know. TJ Adams says Tammy Bruce said he will speak later. Is there a State Department briefing going on right now? Did she answer a question about it? Hang on. Or was she on TV? I don't see that there's a State Department event on. Oh, there is a State Department briefing on. Okay, hold on. Let's see what the State Department briefing said about this. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Oh no, it's about to start. Hold on. No, the State Department briefing's about to start. Look. So I'm guessing this could be asked about in the State Department briefing, right? I wouldn't be surprised if it's the first question. So we'll at least watch the start of the briefing to see if they talk about it. Scott Johnston says new National Security Advisor Dana White. Yeah, I would be surprised if it wasn't one of the first questions. Acorn says, who's next poll? Hegseth, McMahon, Noam, Gabbard. Vegas 1 says you're fired. Jelly Plane thinks they have to announce it soon, officially. So this briefing is supposed to start in 5 minutes. So we'll see what is said in the briefing. Let's see if I have another report here about this. Hold on. I have another report about this, by the way, that I'm going to show you. If I can get it on the screen here. Let's see. Here is here. You can see there from AFP. Top Trump official ousted after chat group scandal. Let me tell you what AFP is reporting. AFP says Donald Trump's national security advisor is to leave his post, the first major departure of the president's new term, after being embroiled in a scandal over a group chat leak. U.S. media reported today. Mike Waltz and his deputy Alex Wong were both set to leave the White House, CBS News and others reported, while Fox News said Trump was expected to comment on the matter soon, maybe while we're on the air. The 51-year-old former congressman from Florida lasted just over 100 days of Trump's second term, which has been far more stable in terms of personnel than his first so far. During his first presidency, by the way, Trump cycled through 4 national security advisors. A White House official did not confirm the reports, saying they do not want to get ahead of any announcement. Interesting. The White House official did not deny those reports. Waltz showed no sign that he knew of his imminent departure while appearing early Wednesday on Fox News. I think he appeared early this morning on Fox News as well, where he hailed the U.S. minerals deal with Ukraine. Nobody said it could be done. President Trump said, get it done, he said. That might have been this morning. I don't know if that's a typo in the article. Waltz was also present at President Trump's televised cabinet meeting yesterday. A former Special Forces officer, Waltz was seen as a moderate voice in the Trump administration when he was appointed, but reportedly clashed with other officials over his hawkish stance against Russia and Iran. Trump has pushed Ukraine to reach a quick ceasefire with Russia while reopening negotiations with Iran over its nuclear program. So, I guess in theory, the idea would be that Waltz would be less in favor of negotiating with Iran and more in favor of taking strong measures against Russia. Hey, thanks, by the way, to PZ Papa Zulu. Yeah, we mentioned that the National Day of Prayer event just ended at the White House. Any moment now, this State Department press briefing is coming on, and I want to just see if there's a question about Mike Waltz. AFP says Steve Witkoff, a real estate magnate whom Trump has picked to lead U.S. talks with both Russia and Iran, is in contention to replace Waltz. AFP says Mike Waltz had been under pressure since late March, when the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine revealed he had been mistakenly added to a chat on the commercial messaging app Signal about military attacks on Yemen's Houthi rebels. Despite intense media speculation that Trump would fire Waltz over the scandal, remember, Waltz is the one who invited Goldberg, possibly accidentally, and it seems like accidentally invited him to the chat. Despite intense media speculation that Trump would fire Waltz over the scandal, the president repeatedly offered his backing, and the national security advisor appeared to have ridden out the storm. However, Waltz was among a number of White House staff targeted by a right-wing influencer and conspiracy theorist who met with Trump during a purge. Laura Loomer, who is known for claiming that the September 11th attacks were an inside job, is reported to have successfully pushed for the dismissal of several senior U.S. security officials she deemed disloyal to the president. After news of Waltz and Waltz's deputy's ouster was reported Thursday, Loomer posted on X the word scalp. Defense Secretary Hegseth has also faced pressure over the scandal, the Signal scandal, after posting specific information about the upcoming attack on the Houthis in that Signal chat. Oh, Chuck Schumer actually posted on X about this. Here, look. Hold on. He said, now do Hegseth. There's Chuck Schumer's post. Now do Hegseth. Nona Moisu says there's a scandal every month. P.S. Fraser thinks Witkoff would be a huge improvement. Janky thinks Hegseth needs to go next. Llama Paprika says, no, Waltz was my favorite. California Boy thinks Laura Loomer strikes again. Jay Liebgott says, sounds like Waltz has had his last dance. Mr. Bigley Uncredible says, Waltz says it was him that put the group together with the reporter on it. He's not the scapegoat. He's the guy that should be fired for making a huge mistake. Again, we're going to check out this start of the State Department press briefing to see if Waltz is mentioned and asked about. Ron Stahlkopf says, I like Laura Loomer. So it's this kind of weird situation. I mean, President Trump might post about Mike Waltz in 5 minutes. Or maybe we won't hear anything from President Trump today about it. He might do a big announcement. He might do a little announcement. He might say nothing. I don't know what's going to happen. TJ Adams thinks Laura Loomer is getting early info and putting it out. I don't really think she has an influence, says TJ. Malcontent says, when you're a national security advisor and break security in your own meeting, that is a problem. This press briefing is starting at any moment now. So, again, I'm not going to watch the whole press briefing, but I do want to see the start of it. Did Laura Loomer post anything more? Let's see. About this. Again, she posted scalp. Here's something else that Laura Loomer posted today. Laura Loomer said National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, along with his Chinese deputy advisor Alex Wong, have, quote, resigned from the Trump administration today. Hopefully the rest of the people who were set to be fired but were given promotions at the NSC under Waltz will also depart. That's what Laura Loomer said. Oh, thank you to PZ Papa Zulu for all your support. I really appreciate that. PZ Papa Zulu. I kind of feel like I would be surprised if we went all day today without Trump posting something about this. Because it just feels like the White House, to me, are they going to want to sit around all day with this being discussed all day? And then if Trump posts about it, he can spin it whatever way he wants, you know? I feel like he's going to want to put out his version of the story. Ben Doggy thinks it's just more chaos from this administration. Malcontent says, Waltz embarrassed the whole administration. What does he expect? Let me give you a little update here from the Washington Post while we wait for this briefing to start. Washington Post says President Trump plans to replace National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. One current and one former official said today, marking his administration's most significant foreign policy shakeup to date, as the president seeks to advance his America First agenda while managing internal divisions, staff turmoil, and serious security lapses. The expected exit of Waltz, a combat veteran and a former member of Congress from Florida, whose selection was among the least controversial of Trump's senior picks for his second term, follows embarrassing revelations in March that Waltz had inadvertently included the editor of The Atlantic magazine in a highly sensitive signal chat among top administration officials as they coordinated an imminent military strike in Yemen. The impending move came after weeks in which Waltz, initially a ubiquitous presence on Sunday news television news shows, and Fox News interviews, seemed to fade from view amid widespread speculation and media reports that the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, was heading a search for his replacement. His expected departure may also signal a tightening focus on loyalty and ideological cohesiveness following Trump's purge last month of National Security Council staff aides who reported to Waltz and whom the president deemed out of step with his priorities. The Post says the brevity of Waltz's tenure on the job was exceeded only by that of Michael Flynn, Trump's initial national security advisor during his first term. Flynn served less than 3 weeks before resigning amid allegations he lied to the FBI over pre-inauguration contacts with Russia. Trump ultimately went through 4 men in the National Security Advisor post in his first term. Trump was said to have been initially reluctant to dump Waltz, as some other key aides were advocating he do. After the episode revealed by The Atlantic and subsequent reports exposed more extensive use by Waltz's team of the unclassified messaging app Signal for sensitive national security conversations. So the State Department press briefing is supposed to start at any moment now. It hasn't started yet, obviously. I was going to wait and see if they talked about this at all. Randy French says, this incident gives me confidence that Trump can captain the boat. Nothing from Trump on True Social yet. The Washington Post also says, even as Waltz appeared to be weathering the Signalgate storm, Trump pulled the rug out from under him with the firing of senior National Security Council staff members, including Waltz's directors for intelligence, legislative affairs, and technology. That purge came amid reports that Trump and other America First isolationists among his team suspected Waltz of more hawkish neoconservative tendencies and advocating aggressively for confronting adversaries such as Iran, China, and Russia. In Congress, Waltz had opposed the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and endorsed continued strong U.S. support for Ukraine, topics that have divided Republicans. So we've seen several articles mention that they think they're hearing that maybe Waltz was more of a foreign policy hawk than others in the administration, that he wanted to confront adversaries such as Iran, China, and Russia more than others in the administration. The Washington Post also says it is unclear what the fired National Security Council staffers, I think these are the ones who were fired earlier, have done to earn Trump's ire. The day before their departure, Trump was visited in the Oval Office by far-right activist Laura Loomer, who reportedly urged him to remove a number of National Security Council staff on grounds of neoconservatism or the fact that some had also worked in government under Democratic administrations or held politically suspect non-government jobs. Trump today, speaking at the National Day of Prayer event at the White House, praised Secretary of State Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He did not include Waltz, and he also praised other cabinet members and senior officials today. But he did not include Waltz on the list of officials he praised at his event today. History Underfoot says, why is he being advised by Loomer? Sentient Cannabis thinks the new National Security Advisor Hulk Hogan will be announced later. Austin Batman thinks the America First isolationists have won the internal battle versus the Hawks/neocons. Silent Owl Scribe says, Laura Loomer, these unelected officials have an influence on our government that I don't like. Alexander G. thinks Witkoff has earned the spot as National Security Advisor. He's the one who's been negotiating with Hamas, Russia, and Iran. All right, well, we're still waiting for the State Department press briefing. Seems to be running late. I was going to show you the start of it because I want to see, I'm guessing somebody will ask about Mike Waltz. Thanks again to our moderators. Kay Lowry Body is moderating. Margaret Riley over on Facebook. I really appreciate it. On YouTube, Ruth Krafasi is there. Janet B. I know Queenful was there before. Thank you. On Twitch, Big Ball of Yarn, I Got That Fire. Matthew Kohai 3 and Sarah. Also, thanks Ascertainment for your support. Linda Bell, Larry, and Misha on X. And we're waiting for this State Department briefing to start. Is there any chance the State Department briefing is delayed because they're figuring out what to say about Mike Waltz? Carl Hines thinks it's one big episode of The Apprentice. Axios is reporting that Waltz is out not only because of the Signal chat issue, but because Axios says he got on the wrong side of everyone from Laura Loomer to the White House Chief of Staff. Axios is reporting that he didn't work well with other officials in the White House. Axios also reported that in recent days, the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has been collecting names of possible replacements for Waltz. Also, like other outlets, Axios is reporting that Waltz is seen as more hawkish on foreign policy than many others in the administration. That Waltz, for example, is more open to the idea of military strikes on Iran. And Axios also points out, as others have, that Mike Waltz did come to work this morning and did give Fox News an interview from the White House around 8 a.m. But around 8:35 a.m., the first reporting started coming out that he was being let go. And as I was mentioning to you guys about that event in the White House where President Trump, President Trump did a National Day of Prayer event. We just saw some of that in the White House a short while ago. He praised a bunch of of his cabinet members and officials, but he didn't mention Waltz. Also, Axios points out that most of his top team was present there. Most of Trump's top team was present at that event, but Waltz was not there. And Trump did not mention Waltz. That was the event we were just watching, the National Day of Prayer event. So that's a whole other interesting thing. Is he still in the White House? Has he left the White House right now? Is he still there physically? I don't know. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cough. So I'm trying to hydrate. North Suisse says very telling. Gary Lake mentioned Scaramucci, how long he lasted. Anthony Scaramucci served for 10 days as the White House Communications Director in the first term. By the way, Dasha Burns, who's a White House reporter at Politico, said she got a message from Laura Loomer today about the Mike Waltz being let go, And the message said Loomered. Leslie Ladyhawk says people go in and out under all presidents. Jennifer Jacobs reports that at the National Day of Prayer event that just happened at the White House, a reporter shouted a question about Mike Waltz to President Trump, which he did not answer. Mike Waltz was not at the event. It's also interesting that Mike Waltz showed up for work this morning and gave an interview to Fox News shortly before this news started coming out that he was being let go. So you would think that if he knew he was being let go, I don't know, maybe he would show up for work, but maybe he didn't know. All right, so the next poll question I'm going to ask one more poll question. Now, I'm going to assume the reports are true he's being let go but he hasn't yet. But, I mean, we got like pretty much everybody reporting this. Fox News, all these different outlets, CNN, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, NBC News. I could go on and on and on. So, did Waltz know he was being let go? Or did he just hear about it on the news? That's my poll question, assuming he's going to be. Excuse me. Andy Cush says, did anyone see Waltz leaving with a box of office supplies? I'm posting this poll question. Okay. I'm posting the question on Facebook now. Well, this State Department press briefing hasn't started yet. It's late. It's late, guys. All right, I asked you guys, I said, assuming that he is being let go and that the reporting is correct, did he know he was being let go when he showed up this morning? Let's see what you guys had to say. %48 say yes, 52% say no over there on YouTube. And on Twitch we have 67% say no. 31% say yes. J.D. Riddle says, I think Laura Loomer has been given too much credit. You know what's going to happen is when I end the stream, 2 minutes after I end the stream, Trump will post about it. That's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. Dethroned says, of course Waltz knew, a journalist told him on Signal. Joe McFarland says he did not know. It's 50-50 on YouTube. Big difference between YouTube and Twitch on this question. Fred Flintstone says if he was responsible for the error, he should be let go. Excuse me. Wall Street Journal reports that Waltz lost favor with Trump and senior advisors when he accidentally added that journalist to the Signal chat back in March. Also, Wall Street Journal says that Waltz hired aides that his critics said didn't appear to Trump's MAGA base and struggled to represent the Trump's national security priorities on television. Also, as other outlets have said, his views on foreign policy, says the Wall Street Journal, were more traditionally hawkish on Ukraine and Iran than other officials in the White House. Oh, also echoing the CNN reporting, the Wall Street Journal says Waltz was planning to go to Michigan with Trump for the president's rally on Tuesday, but Trump told him not to attend. Okay, what's happened is I have a cough, and I've been talking a lot now, and now I'm coughing more. I gotta have a cough drop. This is the problem when I have a cough and I try to stream, because if I talk for too long, this happens. All right, I now have a cough drop. Jesse's girl thinks he knew. Maybe he knew on Tuesday when that happened. All right, we're wrapping up the poll. Thanks for voting. I really want to at least see the start of the press briefing on the press briefing from the State Department, which is now running pretty late because it was supposed to start like 15 minutes ago. I actually wonder if it's running late because of the Waltz stuff. Oh my gosh. Sorry about my cough. I was fine for the first part of the stream, but now it's not going well. Well, I'll take a break after this. I was traveling recently. Very often when I travel, I was traveling and then I got back and we had these all-night streams, and I think I just kind of wore myself out. George Gomez thinks Mike Waltz made a big league mistake that can't be tolerated. He has to pay the price. Stupid mistake. Nini says they may be scrambling. Cindy Heaton says he probably could not sign into his computer, and then he knew. Two Dog Mom thinks the press briefing is running late because stuff is happening. J.D. Riddle says maybe they're talking with Laura Loomer. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You can see here the Reuters article. White House National Security Advisor Waltz being forced out. This is the first major shakeup of Trump's inner circle since he took office in January. Waltz faced criticism inside the White House when he was caught up in a March scandal involving a signal chat among top Trump national security aides. It is not immediately clear who will take over from Waltz. Sources said the options included U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau. Marco Rubio could assume the position on a temporary basis while still being Secretary of State. Reuters also reports that the National Security Council that Waltz will leave behind has been thinned by dismissals in recent weeks. The bloodletting began a month ago when Laura Loomer, a right-wing conspiracy theorist, handed Trump a list of individuals in the National Security Council she deemed to be disloyal during a meeting at the White House. Following that meeting, 4 senior directors were released. Those 4 senior directors had a long history in conservative policymaking and no apparent animosity toward Trump, leaving colleagues puzzled by their dismissals, according to 2 people with direct knowledge of the matter. Some NSC staffers were upset that Waltz did not more forcefully defend his staff, these people said. Since then, more than 20 additional NSC staffers of various profiles have been let go, typically with no notice, the people said. The signal controversy, says Reuters, was not the only mark against Waltz in Trump's eyes. A person familiar with the cabinet's internal dynamics said Waltz was too hawkish for the war-averse Trump and was seen as not effectively coordinating foreign policy among a variety of agencies. Another source, this is interesting, one source told Reuters Trump wanted to get to the 100-day mark in his term before firing a cabinet-level official. Oh my gosh. All right, guys, I'm giving it a couple more minutes. But I don't know when this Department of State press briefing is going to start. I don't think they're going to say much about the Waltz thing. I can't imagine they're going to give a lot of news about it in the State Department press briefing. But I wanted to see what they said when they were asked about it. Civlap says, I bet Trump had to be convinced he loves Mike Waltz. Darren Charlo, our viewer, says, personally, I think they all have to get on the same page as to how to spin this before any announcement. Louisa Knight, one of our subscribers on Facebook, thank you, says he won't be the only big name to leave. Jasmine Beatty says, hopefully Hegseth is next. Thanks, Rita Evans-Lang, for subscribing too. And Susan Priest-Buchner. Chris Sheehan thinks now it should start anytime. Give me 7. I'm disappearing for 7 seconds. Hold on. 7 seconds. That was like 9 seconds. No, I'm literally on the State Department site. Oh, they rescheduled it because now it says it's about to start. It was supposed to start, and now they've changed it to 2 p.m., but it's now 2:01 p.m. But the official time they put up is 2 p.m. So maybe it'll start now. Yes, I actually have video from the briefing room. Hold on, I'll show you. I have video from the briefing room. Hold on. So I'm not going to do the whole briefing, but we'll see what they have to say. Look, I'll show you the video. No, that's not it. Hang on. Let me get you this. Look at, wow, look at that. That's the State Department. There it is. Thank you to all of the doctors who have chimed in with their expert medical advice in the chat. I really appreciate all of that professional assistance. Oh, thanks to PZ Papa Zulu. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate all your support. PZ Papa Zulu. Yeah, as Fred Flintstone points out, the White House, I think the last 3 White House briefings have been at 8:30 in the morning. They seem to have switched their schedule around, the White House. Anyways, I do really think that what's going to happen is we'll wrap up the stream eventually, and Trump will post about it 2 minutes after I get off the air. But we're waiting to see if anything gets said about it at the State Department briefing. And if there's other big news today, I'll come on the air and cover it. Hey, thanks to Naomi Nocturnal, our member, and Ivan, our member. Thank you. And Sevenfold, our member. Thank you. Jim says that Trump is waiting for me to get off the air so he can post. AP says Waltz is AP says Waltz is leaving the administration. At one point they refer to it as his resignation. AP says Waltz's resignation comes as questions are swirling around Hegseth and his role in the Signal chat. While Waltz set up the Signal chat, Hegseth posted times for aircraft launches and bomb drops into the unsecured app and shared the same information with dozens of people in a second chat, including his wife and brother. AP also reported that Hegseth bypassed Pentagon security protocols to set up an unsecured line for a personal computer in his office beside terminals where he was receiving classified information. That raises the possibility that sensitive information could have been put at risk of potential hacking or surveillance. But Trump has maintained public confidence in Hegseth. D. Rosling says, I saw the word resignation too. It's floating out there. Michelle Diffenderfer says, I'm sure it was resign or be fired. Thomas Darwin thinks Hegseth is the one who really needs to go. I am just waiting to see the start of this State Department press briefing to see if they mentioned this. CNN is reporting that Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is under consideration to replace Waltz. One of the CNN reporters earlier said she didn't think this was going to happen, but CNN's reporting that. A number of outlets have said that. Lori Beth thought Waltz was looking suspicious at the cabinet meeting yesterday. He was there. Nair Singh thinks Hegseth won't go because he is a die-hard MAGA. Waltz wasn't. Geek is excited, Geek says. He did an interview with Fox News this morning. I don't know what it was about, but I don't think it wasn't about him getting fired or anything like that. So this briefing, normally these briefings start on time, or close to starting on time, in my experience. This is interesting because this briefing was supposed to start a while ago. And it's just been delayed. So I don't know if that's because of the Waltz stuff or not. Hey, thanks to Temmie Dank. That's so nice of you, Temmie Dank. Thanks for the gift memberships. Jesse's girl thinks something is going down. Cam Miller says probably should not have used Signal. On Fox News website right now, it's the top story that Waltz ousted following Signal chat leak. Sources confirmed it to Fox News, says Fox. Oh, hold on. I see some people taking their seats at the briefing. Hey, thanks, Beam Me Up, for the gift memberships. That's really nice of you. Thanks so much. Beam Me Up. I keep checking Trump's True Social, but nothing about it there yet. Todd, we may do a stream about India and Pakistan soon. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but obviously if there's huge developments, we'll do a stream on it. I'm seeing people getting settled in there, so it looks like this is really about to start. Again, I'm not going to show the whole State Department press briefing, but I'd be pretty surprised if there wasn't something said about Mike Waltz or asked about Mike Waltz early on in the State Department briefing. So we'll watch the start of the briefing. Thank you, Much Grace Given, for watching. Rose Garvey says it's a worrying situation with India and Pakistan. You know, President Trump tonight is giving the commencement address at the University of Alabama. All right, we're still waiting for this to start. Hey, thanks, MJK Author Channel from Long Island. I'm glad you and your wife enjoy the coverage. Thank you, MJK Author Channel. So nice of you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. CBS News says that now multiple outlets, including CBS News, have said that Waltz's deputy is also being let go. His deputy, Alex Wong. CBS News says Wong, reached by phone, declined to comment. CBS News says it's unlikely that Steve Witkoff will replace Waltz. They also said some people who might be considered are Stephen Miller, Seb Gorka, and Rick Grinnell. Mike Waltz's official, the Twitter account is still working. It still says, well, does he have a separate Michael Waltz? Are there two Twitter accounts? I think there is. I'm looking at one of them. There's Mike Waltz 47, which is the official one, which is the National Security Advisor one. That is still up there. He has a personal one and the work one. WM Pet says, hire Joe Rogan. Cam Miller says, probably should not have used Signal. Still waiting for the State Department press briefing to start. Oh, hold on a moment. Now they don't have the volume on? What's happening here?
Better put my phones on Do Not Disturb.
All right. This is live. Let's see what happens at the State Department.
Happy 101st day.
Happy May Day.
Happy the beginning of the second 100 days. That's right.
Oh, hold on a moment. Hold on, here it is. Hang on. I'm getting it up on the screen for you right now.
100 All righty. That's right. I'm sorry, ma'am?
Started with a blah.
It did, didn't it? It did. So to speak. All righty. I hear it's beautiful outside. I wouldn't know.
Well, you know, we could do these outside.
You know, we could. As a matter of fact, we could. Don't tempt me.
Lincoln Memorial's close.
It is, and then that beautiful garden atrium area that no one's in at the C Street entrance of this lovely building with a lovely statue. I'm recommending tables and umbrellas and chairs, vitamin D. Be a lot of that. All right, you guys. So thank you all very much for being here. Happy May. May Day celebrated in a very different way in my world than the usual May Day. But yes, thank you everyone for being here. We do have an announcement here at the top as well. And let's get started, and then I'll be taking your questions. I won't answer all of them, but I'll be certainly taking them. We're going to try. That's always my effort. That's always my effort. Alrighty, so as President Trump passes 100 days in office, he continues to deliver for the American people. President Trump has nominated, and the Senate has confirmed, more key foreign policy leadership positions in his first 100 days than during the same period of any of the last 4 administrations. On Tuesday, Tillman Fertitta has been confirmed by the Senate New ambassador designate to Italy and San Marino. Yesterday afternoon in the Oval Office, Secretary Rubio swore in Warren Stevens as the new U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom. Thomas Barak also took the oath of office yesterday as the new U.S. ambassador to Turkey. And David Perdue took the oath of office yesterday as ambassador to the People's Republic of China. President Trump selected each of these talented individuals as his ambassadors to advance U.S. priorities in each of those countries. Yesterday, Treasury Secretary Bessent also announced the signing of a historic agreement to establish the U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This economic partnership marks a significant milestone in U.S.-Ukraine relations. This initiative will attract private sector investment, create jobs, develop secure supply chains, and drive economic growth, providing a solid foundation for Ukraine's recovery from the war. President Trump envisioned this partnership between the American people and the Ukrainian people to show both sides' commitment to lasting peace and prosperity in Ukraine. With that in mind, President Trump and Secretary Rubio have identified Ambassador Julie Davis to serve as the chargé d'affaires in Kyiv during this critical moment as we move toward a peace agreement to stop the bloodshed. Ambassador Davis is a distinguished career member of the Senior Foreign Service, holding the rank of Minister Counselor. With a robust background in international diplomacy, she has served in pivotal roles over the last 30 years. Ambassador Davis is currently serving as the United States Ambassador to Cyprus, a position she has held since February 2023. This moment in time is one that calls for the department's best, and Ambassador Davis is the President and Secretary's choice. Also, a quick point of personal privilege. In 100 days, I and the spokesperson's office have had 100 press engagements. This is on top of the Secretary's unprecedented transparency in interviews, gaggles, and other press. The Trump administration is, as we now can tell, the most transparent administration in history. And this matters because it allows the American people to not just see what's going on, but which they, of course, deserve, but to be a genuine part of it. It's also a reminder to all of us who is in charge here. The American people tapped President Donald Trump to represent them in this historic endeavor. And with that, I will take as many of your questions as I possibly can. Yes.
Do
you want to do?
Yeah, well, let's do it. We'll talk to Andrea Mitchell. Yes, ma'am.
Would the secretary consider a request from the president to replace Mike Waltz temporarily or in another fashion, if that is something that the president thinks would be good for the country? Is that something that the secretary would consider?
I'm not going to jump ahead of thinking what the secretary might say or do in any context. What we do know is that the president is, in fact, the one who is running this country. It is his leadership and vision that has set the tone and the trajectory and the policy. He has put together a cabinet that understands and operates within a commitment to the nature of the president's vision. And we do know, of course, within all aspects of this, especially with foreign policy, there has been tremendous success in our foreign policy, and of course it continues. And that is a dynamic that's not going to change, but is a result of President Trump's vision and his day-to-day work in making the situation possible and functional. And of course, I would say certainly with what we've done in 100 days with getting people to the table, the nature.
I have breaking news for you. One of our viewers just mentioned this. President Trump posted about Mike Waltz on Truth Social. Breaking news. That's what that question was about. I was confused by the question. Look at what President Trump posted. I am pleased to announce I will be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next United States ambassador to the United Nations. From his time in uniform on the battlefield, in Congress, and as my national security advisor, Mike Waltz has worked hard to put our nation's interests first. So I know he will do the same in his new role. In the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as national security advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. Together we will continue to fight tirelessly to make America and the world safe again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Wow. Well, that's what happened. There you go. So, Mad Mike says that's a curveball no one saw. So, he's out as national security advisor, but the way it's being framed, there's nothing in the Post about him being fired as national security advisor. The Post just says that he has worked hard to put our nation's interests first, and I know he will do the same in his new role. So, I mean, it certainly it mentions him not being national security advisor anymore, but there's no like, here's why he's out. It just says, I will be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. He's worked hard to put our nation's interests first. I know he will do the same in our new role. Secretary of State Rubio will serve as national security advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. It doesn't even say, is Marco Rubio the acting national security advisor, or is he just permanently national security advisor and Secretary of State? Ben Westgate says, is that a promotion or a demotion? So I got to change the headline. So Trump, Rubio replacing Waltz as NSA, Waltz will be new UN ambassador. I know that's a long headline, but that's what he said. Wow, guys. See, I'm glad we stayed on the air. Per Kayla says this is why people shouldn't jump to conclusions. Well, he is getting rid of him as national security advisor. Stunned in the North said didn't see that coming. Wow, guys, wow. Remember, Elise Stefanik, who's a congresswoman from New York, was originally nominated to be UN ambassador. But Trump decided that he didn't want her to do that because he was concerned about losing another Republican in Congress in the House, which could hurt his chances of passing legislation. So he decided to pull her nomination. So that position was open. Our viewer Luke Canterby says, talk about a demotion. He went from the big league to the minor league. Oops, hold on a second. Hold on. Again, there's that. So, you know, is this a way for Trump to not technically like fire him? Or is it just, I don't, how much of this is wanting to get rid of him or not? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of it's very interesting. I'm sure there'll be a lot of speculation on like, did Trump want to get rid of him but not want to be seen as getting rid of him? Forty thinks this is a promotion to serving the will of the U.S. as the ambassador. As national security advisor, he was only carrying out orders of the president. He now has to make decisions and act on his own. Well, I'm guessing he would be representing the president's views at the UN. But one of our viewers thinks it's a promotion. D Donut thinks it's not admitting failure. Red Girl says expect the unexpected. Glitch Audio thinks people who say it's a promotion are coping. Natalie D says if this were planned, why don't they have someone else lined up instead of Rubio? Yeah, Trump made another post about Iran. I mean, I'm not really reading into this that much. President Trump says all purchases of Iranian oil or petrochemical products must stop now. Any country or person who buys any amount of oil or petrochemicals from Iran will be subject to immediately secondary sanctions. They will not be allowed to do business with the U.S. in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'll have to look into that. Doesn't China buy a lot of oil from Iran? I'll have to look that up and see what the whole deal with that is. I can't give you analysis of that on the spot, but I'll look it up. I will look up that. I mean, I don't know how strictly that's going to be enforced, that whole thing. Maybe it's a huge deal if it's strictly enforced. Will it be strictly enforced? I don't know. Oh, as one of our viewers pointed out, UN ambassador requires Senate confirmation. And so John Hudson of the Washington Post mentions that means that Democratic lawmakers will get to grill Mike Waltz on his entire tenure as National Security Advisor, because there will be a confirmation hearing and they will probably ask him about the signal chat and stuff like that. Yes, Chad Pergram with Fox News says a top Democrat on the Intel Committee, top Democrat on Intel Committee, Mark Warner, says a confirmation hearing for Waltz as UN ambassador would be pretty brutal considering what happened with the signal chat. So, oh, by the way, Kyle Kondik mentions that Henry Kissinger, Kyle Kondik, who I follow, mentions that Henry Kissinger kept the National Security Advisor position after he became Secretary of State in 1973. Wow, guys. Peter Baker points that out as well. So, to sum up what's going on, it's been reported since this morning that Mike Waltz is out as National Security Advisor. The reporting from many outlets said that Trump was upset with him over allowing a journalist to be added to that signal chat, that sensitive signal chat in March. Also, reporting said that Mike Waltz was seen, various reports said Mike Waltz was seen as more hawkish on foreign policy than many in the White House, that some reporting said that Laura Loomer was not a fan of his. Some reporting said that he didn't work well with others in the administration. There's various reporting about this. And so everyone was kind of waiting to see when this would be announced. Well, Trump announced it, but he basically announced it as he's taking this other position. He said, I am pleased to announce that I will be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations from his time in uniform on the battlefield, in Congress, and as my national security advisor. Mike Waltz has worked hard to put our nation's interests first. I know he will do the same in his new role. In the interim, Secretary of State Rubio will serve as national security advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. Together, we will continue to fight tirelessly to make America and the world safe again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. P.S. Fraser thinks it's like being sent to the wall in the Game of Thrones. Eric Zimmerman says, act like nothing happened. Dill G. Warren thinks Trump wants to be seen as a strong man, yet can't even fire his homies. D. Donut, our viewer, says, I bet they didn't decide this until just the last few hours. Leaks forced their hand. I might go, I don't, you know, I didn't realize this was posted. We were watching the, as this was being posted, we were watching the State Department briefing. And right after this was posted, there was this odd question, which I didn't really understand in the State Department briefing, which was like, it was something like, would the secretary consider replacing Mike Waltz or something? And I was like, why is Andrea Mitchell asking about Secretary Rubio? But then quickly I realized it was because she was seeing that this had just gotten posted. I don't even know if Tammy Bruce knew about this because she started the briefing before this was posted. And from what she said, from what Tammy Bruce, the State Department spokeswoman, said as a response, it didn't seem like she was aware of this. I don't know that she was. She might have been. I don't know. Maybe she was. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch it. But, I mean, again, this was posted after she started her briefing. Maybe they've already talked. I'd have to go back to the briefing and see. Maybe in the briefing this got talked about more specifically. Because I bet most of the I bet there were some reporters who didn't know about that because when that question was asked in the briefing, it was only like 4 minutes after this got posted. History Underfoot says maybe that's why she chatted about the weather to delay while Trump posted. Well, the State Department briefing did start late. Oh, Andrea Mitchell was asking if Trump would consider giving Waltz another position. No, I think she was asking if the secretary would do something. But maybe she also asked that too. I'll have to go back and look at it. Oh, did Rubio post about something? Let me see something. Hold on a second. I don't see anything specifically that Rubio posted about this. Anyways, what a turn of events. What a turn of events. Louisa Knight thinks it's allowing both to save face. Austin Batman thinks the good news is Rubio is better than Waltz. Ted thinks Tammy smiled, she knew. Maybe in a moment we'll go back to the State Department briefing and see what the State Department briefing said about this. Not Cuz says strategic move. By the way, thanks to Northwatch for your support. Northwatch thinks the press got rope-a-doped. Thank you, Northwatch. Thank you also, Bebop and Rocksteady says we've come a long way since Little Marco. Thanks the Car Czar, who thinks Democratic media was overreacting again. Thank you. Also here to our moderator, to Total Blank Show. Thanks for your support, Total Blank Show. And thanks to our moderators, we have moderating Big Ball of Yarn, Matthew Kohai 3, Sarah over on Twitch, and Linda Bell, Glary, Misha moderate for us on X, Ruth Grafasi on YouTube, Janet B. Thank you. And Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley on Facebook. Thanks Louisa Knight and Jennifer Ellers for subscribing on Facebook, by the way, and Rita Evans Lang and Sharon Klassen Goslin. Suzanne Berry, our viewer, says, in a Republican-controlled Senate, he will get confirmed, no doubt, but the answers to questions he will be asked in his confirmation hearing could be interesting, she says about Mike Waltz. Rita Evans Lang says, if Waltz has to be confirmed, what are the chances he won't be taking the monkey off of Trump's back? Yes, Christy Martinez, Rubio is now going to be both of them, at least for now. Should we see what was said in the State Department briefing about this? What a turn of events. Jen Tugon thinks exactly like being sent to the wall, as somebody else said in Game of Thrones. What a great analogy. Look at this. Here, look. Trump named Secretary of State Rubio as acting National Security Advisor, taps Waltz for UN envoy. Trump announced the move shortly after news broke that Waltz and his deputy, Alex Wong, were departing the administration just weeks after it was revealed that Waltz added a journalist to a Signal chat being used to discuss military plans. Hey, thanks to PZ Papa Zulu, who says he will be confirmed in the Senate because we have 53 votes. He thinks Democrats will be showboating during the confirmation hearing. We're gonna look at the State Department briefing in a second. Let me just see if I have any other reporting on this. But yeah, the Waltz confirmation hearings, there will probably be a lot of Democratic questions about the Signal chat. By the way, John Bresnahan, who is one of the founders of Punchbowl News, says several Republican senators said they had no advance notice on Michael Waltz's ouster until they saw the reports about it in the press this morning. Eileen Catanese says, what does Waltz have on Trump? All right, let's go back to, we're going to replay the White House, the State Department press briefing moments ago, okay, where this briefing was going on. This briefing started, and then soon after the briefing started, Trump's announcement got posted. And this started to be asked about in the briefing. So let's go back and watch some of the questions from the State Department briefing. I only saw one question about it, but I'm going to show you right now. Well, hold on a second. I'm going back here. Where does it start? Right here? Here it is. Okay, so this is moments ago at the State Department briefing. And this is like just after Tammy Bruce starts to take questions, and this is just after Trump had posted that Mike Waltz was going to be the new nominee for UN ambassador, and Marco Rubio's taking over as National Security Advisor, as well as staying Secretary of State. So let's see let's watch a little of this.
I will take as many of your questions as I possibly can. Yes.
I mean, do you want to do?
Yeah, well, let's do it. We'll talk to Andrea Mitchell. Yes, ma'am.
Would the secretary consider a request from the president to replace Mike Waltz temporarily or in another fashion, if that is something that the president thinks would be good for the country? Is that something that the secretary would consider?
So that question was, would Secretary Rubio consider replacing Mike Waltz as National Security Advisor? Because it had just, I think she was responding to Trump's post on Truth Social, which he had just posted saying that Rubio was going to replace Mike Waltz. And again, this is the Secretary. The Secretary of State is in the State Department, so she's asking the State Department briefing about Rubio, if Rubio will take this job.
I'm not going to jump ahead of thinking what the secretary might say or do in any context. What we do know is that the president is, in fact, the one who is running this country. It is his leadership and vision that has set the tone and the trajectory and the policy. He has put together a cabinet that understands and operates within a commitment to the nature of the president's vision. And we do know, of course, within all aspects of this, especially with foreign policy, there has been tremendous success in our foreign policy, and of course it continues. And that is a dynamic that's not going to change, but is a result of President Trump's vision and his day-to-day work in making the situation possible and functional. And of course, I would say certainly with what we've done in 100 days with getting people to the table, the nature of what is happening with the Houthis, the fact that Iran is at the table, it is a tremendously successful foreign policy, and whatever the president decides, it will be successful. All right, now, so we've got a lot of activity down here in the first row.
Something that's just come out from the president.
Yeah. All right, great, terrific.
The president has just written on Truth Social that Mike Waltz is going to become the new U.S. ambassador to the United Nations.
Well, there you go.
No longer the National Security Advisor.
Fabulous.
And in addition to that, he says that in the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as National Security Advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. Do you know how long he's going to be serving in both roles?
It is clear that I just heard this from you. This is the magic. Well, I have some insights as to the potential of certain things that might happen. But when the president, and this of course is all presidential decisions, right? So I'm with the State Department. It is, as I think would be clear to all of you, you don't want to get ahead of your skis in drawing conclusions or speculating about what may occur. And you can have a general sense of what's possible, and then you see that manifest usually. But I think the one thing I've learned is that things don't happen until the president says they're going to happen. So the fact that is, which was obviously Truth Social. Yeah, so that is the.
So it sounds like she knew it was she had heard it was coming. But look, when the press briefing started, it was not posted. So she couldn't have known about it when the press briefing started because it literally wasn't posted yet. I mean, she could have thought it was coming. It seems like she had gotten a heads up it was coming. But it's an interesting moment there where like it literally got posted during the press briefing. TJ says she knew something was happening. By the way, thanks to Nina Drew. I appreciate that. I'm going to play a little more of this for you, but this was moments ago. But it's an interesting moment where, she's finding out it got posted at the time. This was just the daily State Department press briefing, which started late. Eddie Thithi says thinks she didn't know something was happening. Well, I don't know. It seems to me like she had an idea. I might be wrong, but that's what she's hinting at. Also, yeah, I mean, Pebble Girl says she didn't seem surprised. Also, if she hadn't heard about this happening, then Andrea Mitchell's question would have been really confusing. I would have thought that if she didn't know this was happening, that when Andrea Mitchell said, would the secretary consider replacing Waltz, she might have been like, what are you talking about? But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let me, Joel PM thinks her attitude at the start was a tell that she had been tipped off. Yes, Rubio is holding both positions for now. Jennifer Eller says, I think she'd want a verbal confirmation. Anyways, let me keep playing this, and here's some more of what moments ago Tammy Bruce, the State Department spokesperson, has to say about this, given that this got announced right as during this daily State Department press briefing.
The miracle of modern technology and the social media. So that is an exciting moment here. I think that, as I know Secretary Rubio, this is a man who, as I think you all know, has worn several hats from day one in managing the nature of what's happened here at the State Department, at USAID. He's someone who is well known by the president. The president makes perfect assessments about who would implement his agenda. And in this case, he's chosen certainly the secretary and Mr. Waltz to facilitate his agenda moving forward. Not entirely surprising, I have to say, and good news for the American people.
You said you had some insights that this might happen. Could you just
well, I
elaborate
think
on that a little bit?
No, I can't. But thanks for asking.
Do you have any, how from the insights that you do have, knowing the secretary,
sure,
and knowing this building, how do you?
I'm sorry, I need to play that moment again. I'm going to play this moment again.
Some insights that this might happen.
I have to say, and good news for the American people.
You said you had some insights that this might happen. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
No, I can't. But thanks for asking.
Do you have any, how from the insights that you do have, knowing the secretary,
sure,
and knowing this building, how do you see this working, and what advantages do you see with Secretary Rubio's experience in this new role?
Well, and also his experience certainly in the Senate for so long. He knows everyone in the city. He knows how the city and how the departments, how the government works. He has a great connection, certainly with, as a senator, with his constituents here in this building, with the people who work in this building, and with the American people now as they get to know him. So his experience also, really, we've seen him be at the White House several times a week. His close working relationship day to day with the president happens for a reason, because they work well together. They clearly have been in an environment where they've gotten to know each other very well. And we've seen the secretary operate we have to admit, these last 100 days, it's like hanging on to a freaking bullet train. I mean, it is a fast dynamic with people who have a journey that is set with a goal that has been determined. And it's staffed with men and women who understand what the agenda is and how to get it done. Now, this is, obviously the president knows everybody in his cabinet, and all those cabinet members have staffs, and every department has people that he gets to know and that make a difference in how the departments work. So when we think about how is Secretary Rubio going to do this, well, it's like, how does President Trump run the United States? You have people around you. It's not just you, right? These aren't single individuals working every day and you pulling the levers. It's about managing people. It's about assigning people to the right roles, as the president has just done. And if anybody can do it, certainly with the secretaries I've gotten to know him, it will be Marco Rubio.
So, Tammy,
all right, now, were you finished in the sense of?
When you get to this, I did want to ask you about the hoodies, because Secretary Hegseth had a very sharp.
He did. So let's do this. If we're.
Oh, just see if they ask any more questions about if they're done with the talk about Rubio and Waltz.
Are you going to continue on this line?
No,
we're going to move on. All right. So we're going. Well, we've done 3 and 4, and I know. Look, this is, and you are going to be all writing stories that I'm going to be fascinated to read. But I think that's pretty much as I can say about the nature of what's going to happen from this point forward today. And so let's go ahead with Andrea and see what else. The Houthis.
Presumably,
Okay, so hey, the timing. I'm glad we watched we had the briefing on to see that when it happened live and to see the stuff after it happened. Wow. So again, we came on because there was all this reporting that that Mike Waltz was being forced out as national security advisor, and well, he is out as national security advisor, but President Trump says he's going to be the new nominee to U.S. ambassador to the UN. There you go. And Marco Rubio, at least for the moment, is going to be the national security advisor and the Secretary of State. How about that? How about that? Tammy Dank, thank you, from Canada. Thanks for your support. Says, I wonder what Waltz being gone as NSA will mean for this administration's position on Ukraine, if anything. A number of articles we read before said Waltz was seen as more of a hardliner, as more of a hawk on like Israel, on Iran, Russia, and China. Will it affect then others in the administration? Will it affect the position? I don't know. Dirty Paws thinks he gets 2 salaries in pensions. Does he get 2 salaries from Marco Rubio? That I don't know as well. Denise Bissell says, I love Rubio. He has really surprised me. Yes, the new UN ambassador would need Senate confirmation. NSA, National Security Advisor, does not need Senate confirmation. So as we said before, it is expected that'll be a contentious, Senate confirmation hearing because Democrats will ask about the signal stuff. Oh, Mike Waltz has posted. Mike Waltz has posted. Look, guys. I'm deeply honored to continue my service to President Trump and our great nation. We got a comment from Mike Waltz. Oh my gosh. DJ says he posted this on Signal. Yeah, I don't know. It does say, as one of our viewers mentioned, it says in the interim, Secretary of State Rubio will serve as National Security Advisor. It does say in the interim, as Paul Winkle says, but I don't know how long that will be. Hey, thanks Sevenfold from Canada. I really appreciate that Sevenfold. Dean R. thinks Rubio will likely get pension for the highest held position. How about if maybe we'll do one more poll question. My poll question is, by the way, a number of reporters online point out, as for example, Hugo Lowell with the Guardian points out that in addition to being Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, Marco Rubio is also now the acting U.S. aid administrator and the acting national archivist. So my question is, how long will Rubio serve as NSA? National Security Advisor. I'm going to say less than a month or longer. Those are the two choices you're going to be given. We'll see what you have to say. So much drama. All right, I'm putting the poll up in the chat in the various. Oh, thanks to Margaret Riley for the stars and Kay Lowry Body. Thanks so much for the Facebook stars. That's really nice of you. And I'm going to put the poll on Facebook. Okay, so I asked you guys, how long will Rubio be the National Security Advisor for, in addition to being Secretary of State? And the YouTube is divided over this. On YouTube, 52% say less than a month, 48% say longer. And over there on Twitch, 59% say less than a month. 30. Oh, oops. Yes, oh, that's right. Yes, I didn't do it wrong. 62% say less than a month. 38% say longer. Interesting developments. Interesting developments. All right, thanks for voting in our poll. Let me see if I have anything else I want to mention about this, but I'm really glad that during the stream we got to actually get the announcement on the stream. That's great. I like when we can get closure on things for you guys, and you're not left hanging. By the way, regarding this post that Trump made about buying oil from Iran, right here, All purchases of Iranian oil or petrochemical products must stop now. Any country or person who buys any amount of oil or petrochemicals from Iran will be subject to immediately secondary sanctions. They will not be allowed to do business with the United States of America. So I had mentioned, I was like, when I first saw this, I said, I think that China buys a lot of their oil. I was just looking at a CNBC article, and the CNBC article talked to an expert who believed that this post was clearly directed at China. Because China buys a lot of Iranian oil. Here, look. Here, Trump says buying Iranian oil must stop, threatens secondary sanctions on purchases. Reuters. China, it says at the bottom of this article, China is the largest buyer of Iranian crude oil. Analysts have said to really crack down on Iran's oil exports, the U.S. would have to impose secondary sanctions on entities such as Chinese banks that facilitate the purchases of Iranian oil. So I don't know how strongly enforced that threat is going to end up being. And then, hold on a second here. Dean R. says, honestly, don't you think as time goes by, the real target of the tariff war is China? All right, guys. Well, we've seen, hold on. Let me read a few more comments here. DS says Trump is the ultimate troller. What about Russia? Cell and Tanner Talk City said, what about Russia? Our viewer PW360 asked about that as well. I don't know. The Atlantic Council had an article last year that said the axis of evasion behind China's oil trade with Iran and Russia. But I don't know if Russia is buying the oil or how Russia is being involved. The article says Russia has been copying Iran's method for circumventing sanctions. I don't know if Russia buys oil from China, from Iran. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, well there's an article. There's an article in CACI Analyst, whatever that is. Central Asia Caucasus Analyst claims 2 years ago they buy it from Iran. Anyways, I don't know about that. That I don't know. Anyways, I'm not going to worry about it right now because it's off topic, but it's an interesting question. David N says Russia has lots of oil. So I don't know the deal on that. There's some articles talking about how Russia supplies. There's an article from 5 days ago talking about how Russia has reached a deal to supply natural gas to Iran. Anyways. I think we may be getting to that time. I think it might be the time. I think we have done full coverage of this story. We did it. I always like when we can get you the news as it happens. So we came on, we covered the reports that Mike Waltz was out as National Security Advisor, and then we were watching the State Department press conference to see if they would talk about it. And as we were doing that, Trump came out with his post announcing that Mike Waltz was going to be nominated for ambassador to the UN, and Marco Rubio was taking over, at least in the interim, as National Security Advisor, in addition to being Secretary of State. So we got you the information, we got you the end, we got you closure on this story. So I'm glad we did that. But I think it is our time to wrap this up. So I think we were rewarded for our patience. A number of you, I had said this before, I said, I can't imagine this will go on for a long time without some announcement. A number of you thought that as well. So I'm glad we stayed on a little longer and we got the end of the story. Not the end, but you know what I'm saying. All right, anyways, we're going to wrap this up now. We're wrapping this up now. But I appreciate everybody joining our live coverage of this. And when there's more big news, we will come back on the air. Also, the cough drops seem to work well. I stopped coughing for the moment, which is good. Michelle Differender says, don't try all the remedies at the same time. Hey, so thank you so much for being here, and subscribe and follow to the channel, Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda. Agenda Free TV. And also turn the notifications on. I don't know when big news is going to happen. I can't tell you when we're going live, but turn the notifications on so you get sent a notification whenever we go live. We have our own notification system. It's free. It works awesome. Sign up for it. The mods will post the link to sign up for the notifications. And I will post updates about this or other big stories on my X account where I post breaking news updates. At Lookner on X. If you're on X, follow me over there at Lookner for breaking news updates. And let's shout out our moderators. Thank you, moderators, for being here. You guys are awesome. Oh, by the way, thanks to Fred Witherow for your support. Thank you, Fred. I really appreciate that. Thanks to our moderators for being here. They're the ones that allow us to have chat rooms. We couldn't have it without our moderators. People like Janet B. And Ruth Krafasi over on YouTube. Thank you. All of our Queenful was there earlier. Thank you. And Big Ball of Yarn, Matthew Kohai 3, all of our Twitch moderators. Kay Lowry Body. Over there on Facebook, Margaret Riley. Big thanks. And Linda Belk, Larry, Misha, who moderate for us on X. Thanks to all of our moderators. Thank you. Thanks to everybody who donated. That's so nice of you guys. I really appreciate that. That's how this channel stays on the air, with your support, viewer-supported channel. So very nice of you. I think I thanked everybody. If you ever want to donate to the channel, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But thanks so much to everybody who donated today. That's very, very, very much appreciate you allowing this channel to be on the air. Check something out here. Another good way to find out when we're live, if you're on X, follow Agenda Free TV on X. I always post it when we go live. I post updates about the channel at Agenda Free TV. Hey, we do have a chat. You can chat with other viewers when we are not live on our Discord chat. Our Discord chat is free. A lot of our viewers like doing that. It's the same link as the notifications. the free notifications. So check out the Discord chat too. Thanks to our Discord mods too for all you do. Discord mods, thank you. And a reminder for those who watch on YouTube, turn on the YouTube notifications. I'd suggest doing that. It's a little funky to turn on the YouTube notifications. Here's what you have to do. If you're on YouTube, you need to click the notifications bell. Well, you need to subscribe on YouTube to turn the notifications on. You need to subscribe, and then you click the bell, and you choose all notifications. So if you're subscribed on YouTube, make sure you have the bell checked and notifications turned on, and the all notifications shows. Hey, also, huge thanks to our Facebook subscribers for supporting the channel, like Robert Real II, and Sharon Klassen-Goslin, and Rita Evans-Lang. Oh, did the poll not post on Facebook? I'm sorry. Facebook had told me that it had posted the poll, the last poll. We did 3 polls. So I apologize to our Facebook viewers. I posted it. I could see it, but Facebook messed up because it was posted. I pressed the button on Facebook to post it. I'm sorry I didn't get poll posted. Once in a while that happens. So I'm sorry you didn't get that last poll over there on Facebook. Anyway, Susan Priest Bookner, thanks for being a subscriber. Rita Evans-Lang, Sharon Klassen-Goslin, all of our, Lou Green, all of our Facebook subscribers, thanks for supporting the channel. Kay and Margaret as well. And also all of our Twitch subscribers. Chi-Town Bear, Matthew Kohai 3, Gina Pina, Wall Street Shaggy, thanks for subscribing and supporting on Twitch. Billy Joe, Douthis, Uncle Floyd GG. Douthis says, why would Trump put secondary sanctions on China if we're in trade negotiations with them? That's what Douthis said. Thanks also to Flumpingtons for subscribing over there on Twitch, and all of our other Twitch subscribers. Thank you so much. And Artful Nothing as well, and Chi-Town Bear 54, and our YouTube members. Thank you, YouTube members like Sam Patton, Macro Geek, Dennis Kennedy, Yvonne McMillan, Joe Hart, Dinar, Jesse's Girl, Holstrand, TJ Adams, Thomas Darwin, Gary Baines. Thanks everybody for letting me read your comments today. A lot of interesting comments. Thanks for posting them and sending them to me. The ones who sent them to me. David N., thanks for being a member. Fred Flintstone, Jay Hitchcock, Confidence in God, Babelicious, Alexander G., Leslie Ladyhawk, Doug Gahill, Marcus Casa Magica Photography, Tommy Zinneman, Austin Batman, Annie, David N., and CJC Freedom, Cheryl Simpson, Sevenfold, J.D. Riddle, Not a Gray, Jane Jones, Teresa Mouton, Pebble Girl, Dean R., Civlap, Vivi, Adam S., Pam Turner, Annie, all of our YouTube members. Rob Van Roy. Thanks, Rob. Good to see you. And everybody else for watching. California Boy 65, Guy from the 207, Strong One, Ascertainment, Kinetic Pause, Sarah, Simona Lopez, Sarah Smile, Babelicious, I think I said that already, but it doesn't matter. Cadonia. All right, guys, we're wrapping up this live stream. We are wrapping it up. I'm glad we got to bring you the breaking news on the air. All right, guys. That is it for now. We are wrapping this up. So thank you for watching our live coverage of the Mike Waltz situation. And I'm guessing maybe we'll cover the Mike Waltz confirmation hearing when that happens. That'll be an interesting confirmation hearing. We might cover that. All right, that is it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.